Hey everybody, this is Derek and this is part 2 of my video of reviewing issues 145 and 146 and predicting exactly what is going to happen in these issues. I'm going to do issue 146 right now, so if you didn't see issue 145's review and you want to see it, just backtrack. It's the previous video and you'll see what I thought about that issue. Now, issue 146 is going to be released, I think, on September 9th. And the tagline that was shown for this issue is a breaking point reached. And there are a lot of things that go along with this particular issue. And I'm going to show you the front image of that particular issue right now. And if you're looking at your screen here, you will see that this is the front cover of issue 146. And you'll notice that it's Maggie and Rick. And you can see that they're involved in a physical encounter. You know, they're punching each other. You see blood. You know, and I think that this, you know, the tagline and the issue front page here shows that the two of them are going to be getting into some kind of a physical fight. Now, what exactly is this fight about? I think that's the big question here, because there are a lot of different possibilities that I found could be the reason for this fight. But the two things that I'm wondering right now are, why are they fighting and who started it? Because I think that that is very important, because I have various different predictions that either one of them could have started this fight. And I think that a lot of the issues that I talk about may be brought up at one point or another, but that it's really going to come down to whose perspective are we on here? Who was the one that was attacked? Was it Maggie? Was it Rick? Was it both of them? But also, who threw the first punch, I think, is definitely going to be very interesting to see, and may, you know, affect exactly what's going to happen here. But I'm going to look at this from both perspectives. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, if Rick started the fight, this is why. So if Rick starts the fight, I think that one of the reasons it might be is because of what happened at the hilltop between Maggie and the Whisperers and Carl. You know, back in volume 23, you know, Rick left Carl at the hilltop. You know, he basically allowed Carl to go there to be Earl Sutton's apprentice. He had his reservations about it, but let him do it because, you know, I think he trusted Maggie. He realized that it was time for Carl to grow up. And now, you know, all this happened. And I think that Rick may hold Maggie responsible for the people that died. You know, reason being is because, you know, Carl was there. They had Lydia there as a hostage. Well, I mean, more as a prisoner, I guess. I guess we shouldn't use hostage. But, you know, Rick may be upset that Maggie didn't talk with him about this, that she never brought it to his attention, didn't consult with him about what was going on, and just letting Carl leave, you know, putting Carl in danger. You know, it's very likely that Carl could have died. You know, Alpha could have easily just said, you know what, I'm just going to kill this kid. And very easily could have put his head on one of those stakes. And I think that Rick is going to be mad as heck about all of that, because of the fact that how Maggie dealt with this, the fact that she let Carl leave, didn't keep a proper eye on him. I think that he's going to be angry at Maggie for that, and I think that it is very likely that that is the reason why the fight might start, if Rick is the one to start it, is that he may blame Maggie for all this, his frustrations, and he may beat Maggie for that. You know, and I think that another reason may also be just about Gregory. You know, I think that might be a small part. It may not be the main part, but as far as I know, Rick doesn't know about that yet. And he may find that, you know, Maggie doing what she did, hanging Gregory, may not sit well with him. And he may be very upset that, you know, Maggie violated his rule of, you know, you don't kill people. We don't kill people anymore. And that might be something that he doesn't agree with, that he may get very upset about. And I could see Maggie, you know, being defensive, and just saying, you know, hey, it wasn't my fault, that Carl ran off. You have no control over your son. You just let him do what he wants, and, he's a heck of a kid. I mean, during that whole entire time when he beat those kids, how even in the back of her mind, I think Maggie still realized, like, yeah, Carl's my friend and Carl is somebody that I trust, but the kid's out of control. So she may throw the blame right back on Carl and right back on Rick, which may result in Rick getting angry. And then, of course, with Gregory, I think that we may see that there is a fundamental disagreement between Maggie and Rick about how they are to live and how they are to survive. And I think that that's something that we see with Rick and Maggie is I think they want to govern things differently. I think that Maggie really doesn't agree with everything that Rick has said, and that there are those limited reasons why sometimes people need to die. I mean, I'm not going to lie. If I was in Rick's shoes, Negan would have been dead. I'm not going to lie. After everything that guy did, I would not throw him in a jail cell in a zombie apocalypse world. I'm sorry. That may be a bad thing, but I just don't necessarily agree with Rick keeping Negan alive. And I don't know about you, but if I'm in Maggie's shoes and somebody tries to poison me and kill me, I would probably do the same thing. And obviously that wouldn't sit well with some people. I think that some people would see that as not something that should have been done. I think we all have our various opinions on Rick keeping Negan in a jail cell for the rest of his life and Maggie hanging Gregory. I think we all have our opinions on that. But I think that that is something that Maggie, is going to be defensive about. And I think that if there is a confrontation between her and Rick, I think that Maggie is basically going to be, throwing that back at him and being defensive. I think she does want to govern the Hilltop the way that she wants to. We may see that, that she may say, look, Rick, you can be the leader of the of Alexandria. I don't care. The Hilltop is mine. And I'm going to govern it the way I want to govern it. And you have no say. And Rick may not like that. So those would be the reasons why I think that Rick would start the fight. And really another thing that's really going to matter is how is Rick actually feeling about what happened with the Whispers, the fact that Rosita, Ezekiel, and other members of the Hilltop Sanctuary, Alexandria, and the Kingdom are dead. How is he feeling about that? Because it's one of two things. Either Rick wants war, he wants Alpha's head on the stick, just like his group members, and he doesn't care and he's going to war, or he doesn't want to go to war. And if Maggie starts the fight, I think that it could be for either of those reasons. Either that Rick wants to fight or that he doesn't want to fight. Because I thought about it, if what I predicted in issue 145 does come true and Michonne does go across the border or Rick sends people, to fight, like say people say, hey, look, we're going. We're going to kill Alpha. We're going to do this, whatever. We don't care. That may upset Maggie. Maggie may be very angry that Rick's taking this kind of action, without her consent, maybe saying, hey, do you realize that we're all in danger here? Like, everything you do affects us. And if they do kill Alpha, or if they do start a war with the Whisperers without consulting with the other communities, Maggie may be upset about that, realizing that, hey, this may result in the end of my community. This may result in people dying, and she may not agree with Rick wanting to go to war with these people. Maybe siding back with the Saviors. You realize that at first, Rick was the Saviors were the antagonists in general, but if you remember when they were going back from the Hilltop the first time, they ran into some Saviors, they killed them, the Saviors retreated, the Saviors went to Alexandria, they fought them, they retreated again, and then the next time, Negan shows up with X amount of people, they're outnumbered, nothing to do, and what happens? Glenn gets killed. And I think that Maggie, if she's going to refer back to that, that may be the reason why she doesn't want to see a fight. And if Rick did start a fight or wants to start a fight and Maggie doesn't, that may be a difference in opinion that could cause this fight. On the converse, though, if Rick doesn't want to fight, that might upset Maggie as well. we may see that, with Rick going up against this huge Walker army, which is probably twice the size of the Walker army that went through Alexandria in No Way Out, that this may result in a lot of people dying. This may really result in a lot of people getting killed, and Rick doesn't want that to happen. He may already feel guilt about all the people that have died so far and everything that's happened up till now, that Rick may not want to fight. That Rick might just end a discussion, just say, Maggie, we're not going to war, and Maggie may want to. After losing several of the people of her community, I think she's going to definitely take that to heart. That's going to be something that upsets her just as much as it's going to upset Rick. I think that if Rick doesn't want to fight, then, Maggie may be upset at him, for doing that. But Rick may have his reasons. One of the things that you realize is that this war, if they go to war with the Whisperers, it may, make the group revert back to those old ways of violence and killing and hate and disagreements and all the things that they've worked hard to get rid of. That may not be the case anymore, that they go back to that savage kind of lifestyle that Rick has so much wanted to abandon, and Rick may not want to do that. And that may result in tension between, Rick and Maggie. And I think that, again, going back to the point that Maggie, I think, still holds a little bit of a grudge, against Rick for Glenn dying. It may not be, like, again, a major grudge, but I think that's still inside of her. The fact that Rick didn't step up and do anything and people died, we may see again, Maggie yelling at him and saying, look, if you don't do anything, they're going to do whatever they want and more of us may die. I lost people way back in Volume 22 when they went out, and ended up, running into a group of the Whisperers at first. She lost people. I think that they aren't going to respect the boundaries. I think the Whisperers really, if they go outside the boundary, it doesn't really matter. They outnumber the group. And I really think that there may be a possibility that they may be upset about, the way that everything happened. And if Rick doesn't want to fight, Maggie may say, no, look, I want to fight. You need to man up and get in gear and fight. And if Rick doesn't want to, that could cause arguments about, again, the way that they want to live, the way that the communities should live, who's really a better leader. Maybe Maggie definitely just flat out says Rick sucks as a leader. Or again, that could just be against Carl too. I think that those kind of words could set Rick off. Either Maggie calling Rick's leadership into question or her saying something about Carl. Because I think that either one of those things could happen, which could trigger a fight. And I really think that, there are going to be a lot of different reasons for this. I think that there has been tension that has been building between Rick and Maggie for a while, things that haven't really been discussed. And I think that now is going to be the time where things are going to come out. And we're really going to see exactly what these two are made of. And we're also going to see exactly how they're feeling and can they overcome their differences. What is this fight going to do? Because this fight could either break them apart and the groups don't work together as well, and that could result in some problems if they run into issues with the Whisperers, which it may. I wouldn't be surprised if this does, really affect the Hilltop and Alexandria's relationship, which could add stress and story, some suspense to the storyline. So I would not, excuse me, I would not be surprised if these groups did go their separate ways for a little while. The other possibility is just that, they do end up, repairing somewhat some of the issues that they have and that they move forward together, but not everything's resolved yet. Only time will tell. I mean, again, we really need to see what happens in the comics. It's not like the TV show where you can look at the comics and predict. It's the complete opposite, and we really can't. So, based on my predictions, I'll be interested to see if all of those events do happen, and who did start the fight, and what will happen after the absolute devastating ending of Volume 24 Compendium 3 and issue 144. I mean, there's a lot going on here, and I'm very interested to see how it's going to resolve itself. So with that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. If there are any suggestions that you guys have for future video topics, don't be afraid to suggest them. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and thank you very much for watching.